It's kind of exploitive too, because
no,
like,
absolutely
you need
is.
a home.
No, it's a horrific cycle.
Yeah.
For sure. No doubt. No doubt.
Hi, friends.
Hi.
Welcome to the You and Me podcast. My name is Carolina, and I am joined by a very lovely guest today. What is your name?
Hello, everyone. My name is McKenzie Malone.
So stoked to have you. I want to say that before you came, I woke up this morning at like 9 o'clock, and I was like, I'm having a guest over for the first time. They've never seen our house. I need to clean every
beautiful.
single nook and cranny. So, as my partner calls me, I was the Tasmanian devil.
Oh, sure.
And I was like cleaning everything and making sure everything felt nice. Because I feel like my inner mom comes out where it's like, you want people to be comfortable in your space.
Totally.
You want people to not look at a corner and be like, oh, what's the last time?
I feel the same way. Like the baseboards, I'm always like, oh my gosh, they're gonna know, but really nobody knows.
The trash. I can't let them know that I throw trash away.
It's like, oh my gosh, we're only human.
I know, it was making me think. So I was in the bathroom, and I was frantic, and I bumped
No,
my head.
It's not worth it.
Against the corner. I literally, for a second, was like, do I have a concussion? Because it like rattled my teeth.
Oh my gosh, friend.
And I grabbed an ice pack, and Christopher's like, I think you just need to like
Take a
down,
beat, yeah, take
chill.
a breath.
And it made me think, I was like, it is wild how as much as we try not to be performative,
Yeah,
and as much as we're like, I'm authentic, I'm real, but still I get the urge, like when somebody comes to my house, I'm like, I can't let them think that we have dust in this home.
No, I am right there with you. I also like to do, admittedly, the like toilet paper fold with like the water stamp from the sink. I'm that person.
Wow.
So you are not alone. We are in this together.
Is this our inner hospitality?
Oh, 1000%. No doubt about it. That did not just come out of thin air for me.
Yeah, it's just wild. And in a way, I'm like, oh, I'm glad that I'm like so into creating spaces and like
of course.
cleaning things. But sometimes I'm like, I wish that I could just be like, yeah, come on over.
Right.
And like I could.
You could.
But it's just that extra.
Yeah.
It's that I want to go above and beyond.
Always.
Which I also have to chuckle that I know that you go above and beyond.
Oh my gosh.
Because I was taking a chill pill on our daybed, and I was looking out the window, and I heard this car like bumping some jams. Park, and I looked, and it was like 1:55.
That's your girl.
And I was literally 2 o'clock on the dot. Knock, knock, knock.
That is on brand.
I was like, you know what? Respect, because that is also a big thing in our household, is like, if you say you're gonna be there at 2, you best believe at 1:59
you bet
up to the door.
You bet your bottom dollar. It also comes down to respect of like, I respect your time, you respect my time. I really want to make sure that I am prepared, and if it comes at some bump and jams rolling down the gravel road and getting there and sitting in my car and doing emails for 10 minutes, I will do that all day. So I love the observation. That is very on brand. Very on brand.
What were you listening to, by the way?
Oh, that's a great question. These days I'm really I really enjoy Channel Trace Radio.
Ooh,
that's
great.
Yes, Spotify, shout out to Channel Trace.
What? There's a song, I'm gonna waste people's time, because I'm always like, what's that one song that was like, we played it back like 2 weeks ago when we were driving the car.
I don't. I'm gonna do some research on the back end, and I'll send it. We'll figure this out together.
If I find the song, I'll send it to you.
Yes.
Cool.
Oh my gosh, I'm usually a Beyonce gal, but I recently was reflecting that I don't think that she will make my top performer on my Spotify Wrapped this year, which is actually low-key tragic. So I think Channel Trace might be taking the...
Here's the top artist for 2024 that I had. His name is Mindchatter.
Ooh, I don't know Mindchatter.
Highly recommend.
Wow.
To you guys listening to like incredible artists.
Wow. What kind of genre is it?
I would say he definitely falls in the category of like housey, but
love housey.
I would say he's a little less like he has that really nice in between. Like I feel like he's in the genre where that it's upbeat, but it's still chill.
Love. I mean, what's his beats per minute? You know, we gotta know the deets.
If I had to guess, I'm gonna say he's in a 125.
Oh, okay.
I'm always like in the 130s to 160 is like my prime.
Oh, okay.
But I want to guess he's 125.
Okay, we're gonna have to do some back end work and find out the real truth here.
I'll send you some.
Please,
Okay.
please. Okay.
Well, thank you guys for listening. We are on episode 17.
Woo, 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 woo.
Crazy. We're coming out every single week.
Dang.
And we're getting it done. You know, I was just thinking earlier, like, the views aren't where I want them to be yet, but like in due time.
In due time, this is where it starts.
It's true.
I mean, you're doing the thing, and that is something to celebrate and be proud of. So kudos to you. 17,000 more. I don't know. I mean, sky is the limit.
Literally.
This is it. We're making it happen. You're making it happen.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I am excited to bring McKenzie on the pod, and what we're gonna talk about this week, which I think is so fitting, granted your background. And can we just do a shout out? What is it, Fern?
Oh yes, I own a business called Fern LLC, and I have a couple of different entities under that. So essentially, I love to help support people and be their personal hype woman, whether that be primarily through dating, maybe some career coaching, maybe some resume, cover letter support, interview skills, events. You know, it's kind of a lot of different things wrapped into one bundle under Fern LLC.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And so that leads us to our topic, and the topic that we really want to cover today is finding a career is like dating.
Absolutely.
Can I get an amen?
Oh my gosh, amen all day and then some. That's what we're talking about. Basically, yes, interviewing for jobs is essentially going on a first date.
It really is. And what we want to talk about first and foremost is when you're in the dating game, I think one of the biggest things that'll make you successful is having a sense of self-worth.
Oh my gosh, that is where it starts, my friend. You have to have that inner self-worth, or surround yourself with people who can allow you to feel that radiate. That's really where it starts, foundational work, whether it be through dating, whether it be finding a job. Knowing your self-worth is absolutely mission critical.
Totally. And I think that, you know, as women,
Yeah.
we are brought into a society that we're always taught to take up less space, to be submissive, to not be too bitchy, but also be authoritative. But don't be too masculine, but also have a backbone. Like there's all these contradicting views of make sure you're really pretty and put together, but not too pretty and put together because that's fake.
Yeah, it's awful.
And when you talk about that in a career sense, so often do we go into a career, and I know I've slightly talked about this previously, but you go into a job and you are in a state of desperation.
Absolutely.
We're in that state of like, pick me.
Right.
And so I guess I want to start off with like, as somebody that is now giving people advice and helping people through the journey, I just want you to kind of give us a little backstory on how you got to where you're at.
Yeah, thank you so much. I would love to share that. So I have a pretty kind of diverse background, whether it be in industries and roles. I'm an Oregon gal through and through, so I was born and raised.
I always feel like people who are from Oregon are...
Well, that's very kind of you to say. I have a lot of Portland pride, a lot of Oregon pride. I love our state and our beautiful city that we live in. I had the opportunity to start really my career after school working for Disney in Florida. I grew up doing theater, so for me, working for the mouse was like my, kind of end goal, if you will. So I worked for Disney in Florida, came back home, worked for the Portland Trailblazers, worked in professional sports. Essentially, I think that professional sports is just theater in a different costume. It's all about the show, it's all about the experience, and that is something that really shines through kind of holistically through my career. The Blazers, I also worked for the Nationals in Washington, D.C., so their Major League Baseball team. I found myself both working, again, kind of in Florida and D.C., but I always come back home to Oregon because, as you just shared, it is such a beautiful place to live and thrive, and the community here is unparalleled. So that's kind of a little overview. I have kind of, again, bopped around to these different organizations and roles. Wow, it's the shiny brand, it's the shiny name, and isn't that great to have on my resume? And wow, You know, that's great, but at what point, you know, you have to look inward and say, wow, are they really giving to me what I am giving to them? And that is that incongruency oftentimes of, I'm giving my heart and soul, I'm literally, you know, doing all sorts of crazy things, crazy hours and things, and that expectation is there from the employer, but you know, we're just not able to take care of ourselves is really what it comes down to.
Totally. That is such a often where we're at. It's like, you know, you look at jobs and they're like, especially in hospitality, it's
Absolutely.
like every single weekend, every single holiday, late nights, early mornings, you know, whatever it is, we ask that you are there, and you're not only there, but you should show up with a smile on your face.
Oh yeah.
With the idea that the customer is always right. And there is never to the point of thinking, hey, what am I getting in return? And now we can say on a base level pay, but
sure,
we all know that often
not even there. Yeah, it can be so challenging, and it really, like, the system, if you will, I feel really challenges our self-worth. It's like, hey, I might be a confident, you know, adult, yet I am being challenged constantly in multiple different facets. My mental health, my physical health. That's a huge toll on you, especially over time. And you know, your self-worth, you really do question, am I good enough? And it's like, yeah girl, you just worked 12 14-hour days for 8-10 days straight, but yet that is not the message as an employee that you receive from the employer. In fact, it's often hustle harder.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you say that question of like, am I good enough? Because I remember, you know, having those long stretches and those long work days and starting to feel a sense of resentment, starting to feel like I feel like I'm less than, because I'm constantly serving, I'm constantly feeling like I'm a servant to everybody else's needs, you know, all day long. It's like, can you do this? Can you get me this? Me. And you're at some point, you're like, what about me?
Right.
So what was kind of like a pivotal moment, or how were you able to kind of see where you're at and realize like, hey, I deserve more than this?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it came after 12 plus years of kind of being in that cycle that we're kind of just talking about. Ultimately, you know, as someone who does struggle with mental health, it really, for me, it was very much like, whoa, you know, at what cost is really kind of the question that I always resonate on. And because I viewed roles and jobs as like, well, you know, they have a line out the door around the block, you know, it's always been, well, you're so lucky to be here. And that, like, working under that mentality is just never favorable.
Toxic.
It's so toxic. And so for me, what really did it is, you know, just realizing, wow, my mental health is really at risk here. Like, I am being challenged in a way that isn't healthy. And so for me, you know, I really kind of took ownership of my life in a way and had a realization of, wow, I need some time away. You know, I was fortunate enough to be able to go on medical leave, to be able to really take ownership of my health, take ownership of, you know, my career trajectory in a way. To really have that time to get support that I needed, be able to, you know, really take care of myself, which often, again, is just not the case or not championed.
Totally. I think it goes without saying, like, we all are brought into this world, and, you know, all of us have a different set of cards, and we can sit here and compare, like, oh, you're more fortunate or less, whatever.
Sure.
At the end of the day, I think the key message to what I'm hearing you say is, like, a sense of empowerment.
Yes.
And I know that oftentimes we lose that because it's so much easier, and I'm going to say this, and there might be some backlash, but it's so much easier to fall into the victim mentality.
Absolutely.
And I say that to say, like, you know, I remember waking up times too and just feeling the sense of like, I have to work. Like, what's my option? I have to pay my bills.
Right.
You know, I just got a car. I just got, like, the life just keeps on happening, and you can't always just be like, you know what, I quit.
Right.
But I think actually you can.
Yeah.
And those moments I recently was hearing like sometimes we get so comfortable with being a victim.
Yeah.
Sometimes we get so comfortable with just complaining.
Right.
And it's in those times where your mind and your body come together and they're like, listen, enough is enough. Like, the beauty is there's thousands of jobs out there.
Right.
And sometimes it does feel like, well, what is my next step? Because maybe all you're surrounded with are people who work in hospitality.
Right.
Or maybe all you've seen are people work, and especially in Portland, like it's
Totally.
such a, every other person you know is like, oh, I'm a bartender, I'm a server, I'm a bar, whatever. And so I think it's really taking that halt in your life and saying, hey, look, I'm done with this.
Absolutely.
And so how did you, when you got to that point of being like, you know what, I know I deserve better. I'm so tired of people telling me, like, you should be grateful that you're working 10-hour days and we're giving you 2 nickels.
Yeah.
How did you educate yourself to get that paid leave and to take a break?
That is a great question. I knew in that moment, there was like a specific moment where I was like, I have to do something different. Like, you know, the definition of insanity, right, is doing the same thing and expecting different results. And so for me, I was like, oh my gosh, like I have to take this break. Honestly, I hate to condone ChatGPT AI, but
she's my best friend.
She's my best friend. And so without that support, and thankful, I'm so grateful. I have so many amazing community members in my life. Many of them are in the HR space. So being able to fact check, if you will, what AI was saying, what trained professionals are saying, and really being able to navigate with confidence and saying, I have this right. I need to do this for my mental health and my well-being, and this cannot come at the cost of that anymore. And so for me, it was just, you know, the obvious, if you will, and taking those 12 weeks, being able to be thoughtful, methodical, first and foremost, getting this mental health support that I needed, and also to say, wow, how am I looking for my next role? What does that mean? I always say this, and back to kind of being interviewing as the same as dating, you are interviewing the job just as much, if not more arguably, than they are interviewing you. It is a two-way street, and I don't think that enough people recognize or understand that, because yes, it may be a shiny brand. Yes, it may be this. You know, we all have bills to pay. We all have a life to lead. But at the end of the day, you are interviewing them just as much as they are interviewing you.
Totally. I think that's such good advice. And, you know, so often do we go for the jobs that have these names that we've heard in TV shows or on media, because like you said, it's this shiny object. And then I just had an experience personally where I was at a job that, you know, has this great shiny name, and the reality of it was we weren't taken care of. And it was that irony of we are in a guest space where, you know, we're supposed to be taking care of people all day, and yet when it comes to the tiny things such as team morale and providing us a meal after working, you know, 8 to 12 hour shifts, or even the small things, like in Portland, we live in such a town where, you know, you have Nike and Adidas and New Balance. It's like, give us some employee passes and get us some nice shoes, you know, like that's a tool that we need in order to do the job correctly.
Absolutely.
And so I think similar what you were saying is with the interview, but I want to even take a step back of like, you know, when you're looking online, you're applying for jobs. I used to only look at the number. I'd be like, oh, I like that number, and I would apply. And that again came from a state of like, oh, like I'm stressing with finances, and the more money I have, the less problems I have.
Sure.
And I think a lot of us get caught up in that idea. And of course, money is a tool. Of course, it can alleviate some stresses. Of course, we need money in order to live a certain type of lifestyle. But beyond the money, I think it's so important to look at those benefits. You know, does that job provide paid leave of absence? Does the job provide PTO? You know, is the job making you use your laptop? What are they providing you a laptop? Like,
so true.
Those are the things that the more that you go into this arena, the more you're like, similar to dating, right? It's like, oh, your first time you date somebody, we're often told like, oh, just go for the most attractive.
Right.
A 6-pack,
Right.
broad back, you know, or as like big butt. Like, there's all these things that we all know when you find your person, you're not thinking about like, oh my gosh, like they just have the nicest butt.
I mean, that's a plus, sure.
It's a plus, but as we know, it's like the more you get to know somebody, the more attractive they become.
Right.
Because it really is of like what's in the inside. And I think that's similar. It's like as kids we're all taught like go after that shiny thing.
Right.
Go after the big best thing.
Always.
And then as you mature you start to realize like that's actually the bottom of the list.
You almost want to like flip the role upside down of like, okay, what is that benefits package? And it's not the number. The number, sure, can I sustain myself? Can I pay my bills? Can I save? Great. But what you're really looking at and what I empower others to look at, what is their culture like? What is that work-life balance? Can you work remotely? Can you work hybrid? What is the expectation? Because again, the number only gets you so far. I want to empower people to, again, what is the holistic experience? Because you're going to get that holistic experience, not just that paycheck.
Do you have any, like, I know I've learned through the interview process, they always, you know, you're doing the interview, classic ones, and then at the end hopefully there's always that time where like, do you have any questions for us?
Sure.
Do you have any good questions for people that are in the interview process that could really maybe help them like crack through like, yeah, what is this culture? Who are these people? Because you are really limited in time.
Absolutely. You know, it's interesting. I love interviews. I mean, even just this, I'm like, yeah, let's just yap and have tea, you know? So I think it's a great opportunity. I just love meeting other people. That question, you know, there's always the question too of like, well, why are you leaving your other job? You know, that's always the tale as old as time. So I'll kind of answer kind of both questions of like, why are you leaving your current role? And then also, you know, kind of what are those questions that you're asking the employer? So first, you know, why you're leaving your role, I always, in times past, will, you know, I don't know, say what I think they want me to say. Recently though, I've really been more vulnerable and intentional to be like, hey, transparently, I'm looking for balance. I'm looking for an employment partner who can champion me without pushing me past my boundaries. Those moments of vulnerability will get you so much farther than, oh yeah, I'll just give you what you want to hear. You know, being on both sides of the interview, authenticity always wins. And you'd rather be upfront and honest initially than later down the line be like, gosh, they're really pushing my boundaries. They're taking advantage of me. I think it's so important that upfront, it seems so scary because you want that role. You've got to pay your bills. You want to, you know, all the things. But being transparent and leading with vulnerability, I think is always the answer. Hashtag Brene Brown. If you know her, if you don't, we love Brene.
She's great.
In regards to the question that they always ask of, you know, do you have any questions for us? I mean, hopefully at this point you would have done your research. You've already done a deep dive, right? You've looked at Glassdoor, you've looked at, you know, whatever. Maybe you even know someone who knows someone who knows someone who works there.
That's great.
We gotta get the deeds.
Yeah, checking your facts. Similar to dating, right? You're
always
like, hey, I just met this guy, and you go on his Instagram, which I don't recommend, but say you do, and then you're like, this actually happened to me where a friend was like, oh my God, I saw your tag, and she asked me, like, what do you think about this person? Because I have no idea.
Right.
And similar, right? When you're dating, they may just tell you all the great things.
Right.
But you're like, who really are you?
Who are you? And you've got to fact check. You've got to know the details. And so I recommend, of course, before any interview you go to for a role, knowing those details, getting the information. Again, maybe I know someone whose brother, whose sister works at blah, blah, blah. Like anything like that counts. In return, though, again, back to the question, ask about the culture. I mean, you are being interviewed. They are interviewing you. Why not ask? Hey, talk to me about a week in the life, a day in the life. What does that look like to you? And sure, their answer, fabulous, whatever they have to say, but what are their nonverbal communication? As we know, 80% of communication takes place nonverbally. what are they telling you?
Yeah.
You know, are they stressed out on the call? You know, do they, you know, work for a wellness studio and they themselves just had a baby and they're back from maternity leave already? Like, pick up on those cues, really understand holistically. You know, just like how I had said that I previously would share with the employer all that I want them to hear, I, again, want to look out for those clues in the reverse.
I love that you said that, and I wish that in retrospect at my current position I would have asked my community of like, hey, what do you think of this person? Because I so quickly would have gotten what I now know,
right?
Where I know it's not in alignment in a professional way,
right?
And again, you made me think about when you are going on a first date where it's like, you think about it, when you're going on a first date, you're like, I'm gonna take a nice shower and you know, I'm gonna do my hair and I'm gonna put some makeup on, or for guys, like I'm gonna put my nice outfit on and I'm gonna call my bros and be like, does this shirt match these pants?
Well, that's generous. I don't even know if that happens, but yes.
But you're kind of going above and beyond, which is great, right? Like you want to show this person that like, yeah, like I'm excited and I intentionally put some time into this. There's one side of it, but I think the other side of it is knowing, just like we were saying with the house, it's like, who lives in the house that's always clean?
We're human.
And if you do, you're probably not really living. You know what I mean? Like, don't sit on the couch. We don't use those towels. We air dry. Like, exactly. It's like, we know that at the end of the day, we're all human. So I love the advice that you're saying is like, go into a job interview and be real. Be yourself. Because if that job doesn't pick you, well, hey, you know that wasn't in a line.
Right.
Similar with the date, right? Like if you're going in a date and, you know, something that's really important to you, let's say faith or religion, like that's something that you hold near and dear, and maybe you go on a date with somebody who isn't. And of course, that's not to say that's a breaking point.
Of course not, yeah.
But if you feel like that's how you want to connect with people and that person doesn't have it, well, then you know right then and there, there's no second date, and that's okay.
And that's totally okay. I mean, I always kind of think in my brain, people are gonna like you or accept you whether you pretend to put on this facade or you're just yourself. So you might as well just show up authentically as yourself and put your best foot forward. They don't want to meet whatever fabrication it is that you think they want to meet. They want to meet you. And like you said, if you go into an interview, if you go on a first date and you pretend to be whomever you think they want you to be, I mean, that's a hard facade to keep up, A. And B, wouldn't you rather know if they love and like, whatever, you know, love, like, appreciate, value you for you? Because you in and of yourself are amazing and wonderful. I really hope that people can show up authentically in whatever facet they're in.
It's such good advice. And again, like we're always taught that, you know, we want people to like us and we want to do well in the job, and that like people pleasing, lack of boundaries starts to seep in, where I think of like my younger self who was very much so like that. It's like, this job is validating me.
Right.
This job is telling me that I'm a good worker, rather than knowing like, hey, I am a good worker.
Right.
And it's interesting because last summer I was in a somewhat similar situation of continuing the hunt of figuring out like, what am I meant to do on this world?
Yeah.
And I remember getting a part-time restaurant job. And it was for a very nice restaurant.
Sure.
I have to say that they had their shit together. Which,
I love that.
You know, doesn't happen all the time.
That's right.
But the pressure that we had, I mean, within my first 3 days, we were expected to know the menu inside and out.
Wow.
And these were terms and words from another language.
Wow.
That was already like, whoa, I don't know how to say these words. I don't feel comfortable saying these words.
Right, especially with confidence, you need to have it right. So
it was the pronunciation.
Wow.
It was the wine service.
Oh my gosh.
Knowing all of the wines.
Wow.
We were expected to take up to, I think it was like 20 tables at a time.
Oh my
10 to 20 tables at a time. Like have the spiel down, and it was this weird irony of like, they wanted you to be personal, but they wanted you to be quick. And
it's like the impossible.
It was wild. But what was so crazy was obviously there was people in there that were doing that to a very high level.
Yeah.
And so I came in being like, listen, it's a part-time job. I just need something to make some money. I just want to come in and maybe work for 4 or 5 hours, make some good tips, and
Totally.
okay. And I remember on my 3rd day, I was sit down with the manager, and they said, yeah, we're not really happy with your performance. Like, do you want to be here?
Oh my god.
And I remember having that same thing as somebody who
my heart.
has prided in doing a good job, who's been in hospitality for years.
Right.
And I remember just thinking, like, you guys are asking me to do all of this stuff
Impossible.
for a minimum wage.
No.
Sure, we're making tips that we
Sure.
are hustling for.
No, you really are working hard, of course.
But at the end of the day, you as an employer are paying. Now, and I hate to say this because I know sometimes when you're in a shitty situation, you're always like, well, I'm not going to work hard because like you're not, and then you start to create more of that where it's like, you're never going to move up if you're always in that mode of like, well, you're only giving me $15, I'm going to show you $15.
Yeah.
It's that hard thing of like, I do think that sometimes you do need to just show up to a job and do a good job just to like get the ball rolling.
Totally.
But then it was also in this situation I felt like, yeah, this isn't a good fit for me.
No, they're not setting you up for success.
Totally.
Like that's absurd.
And the way in which when you made a mistake, how the manager would get so upset and almost shame you. I was like, this is not
It's not worth it.
the work environment that I need to be in.
$15, $20, $20,000 an hour. I mean, that is just unreasonable. And yet, many people seem to be in this kind of predicament.
Totally. And that's what I was saying. It's like, when you get in this job and say you're not performing, but then you see all the other servers who are crushing it.
At what cost, though?
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we get back down to, you know, you get to a certain point in your life where you recognize you can put so much time into a job and you realize if I were to just lay in a hospital bed, if I were to get hit by a car, they would keep on running.
Yeah,
You're not as important as you think.
I mean, yes, and that is not the mentality that we are under in those scenarios. You know, we want to exceed. I mean, at least I know I do. I want to always exceed expectations. I want to be successful. I want to do my best work. But again, what's in it for me?
Totally. And really, who claims what is the best? What, you know, it's like,
Right.
again, oftentimes we're in these situations where the people who are calling the shots, they're not the people that are working side by side with you.
They're not in the trenches.
No, they're not the people viewing like, damn, I just saw you, you know, work 10 hours and you picked up this girl's shift and now you're,
Yeah.
they're not seeing that. And,
No.
and quite frankly, they don't care.
Totally, and that's what's so hard. I mean, it's heartbreaking to even be talking about this, yet I know that there are listeners out there who feel the same. Like we are not alone in talking about this.
Totally.
I know it's heavy.
It's heavy, and I know, again, if you're listening to this and you're in it, just remember that you have the power to get out of it.
Absolutely, like 1000% underscore. You absolutely can get out of it, and I know that it takes courage to do that. Pick your hard, you know, kind of in that way, like at what cost? Like these are just all things that I think about: mental, physical, emotional well-being, you know. At what cost? Sure, I can pay my bills, but am I crippled with anxiety?
Totally.
I don't know.
And I always like to think too, like there's that short term and long term. It's like, sure, you can pay your bills, but like you said, at the cost of your health. When we all know if it gets to that point where you do seek medical help, like then can you take care of that bill?
Right, probably not. I mean, it's really scary out there. It's really, really scary. But it really goes back to that self-worth component that we were talking about earlier, where it's like I really want everyone listening out there to just know that you shine so bright. Everyone, I truly believe that everybody shines bright organically. And yet, so often our light gets dimmed by jobs, partners, friends, whatever. And yet we have to, at our core, know that we are a shining star.
Totally. And I think that self-esteem is not necessarily something that we are born with. I think it's something that it's learned even from childhood. You know, I always think of a story of like, as girls, I just remember being around a bunch of moms who were always like, oh, I need to lose weight, or I need to go on this diet, or picking at their body. And that teaches us as young women, like, to do the same, to think like, oh, my worth is from my body.
Right.
And so it's like we're all repeating the same pattern. And I think the beauty of sometimes really just saying enough is enough and creating that pause in your life. Like, I can remember so many times have I just been like, I'm done with this job.
Yeah.
I've quit. And I haven't necessarily had a game plan. And it's
Same.
been really scary.
Yeah.
But I've always thought, like, what's the worst that's gonna happen?
Right.
Like, I can still breathe. I still have my legs. I can see. I can hear. And the biggest thing I know you mentioned earlier is, like, I have a sense of community. I have people that I know are going to support me, even in those times that are uncomfortable, where you're like, yeah, maybe I don't have enough money for rent this month.
Right.
Or maybe I don't know where my next meal is. But it's in that form of vulnerability where you reach out to the people that are like, I'm not gonna let you suffer like that.
Totally. And that's where the magic is, that level of community. And we all, or some folks may believe, like, oh, I'm here, the Instagram reel, right, of like, here's the highlights of my life, which is great. We all love the pretty photos and this and that. But I want friends who I can go through everything with. I want friends who are going to have this emotional intimacy. I'm looking for that always, to grow my community with people who I can be emotionally vulnerable with in the good times and maybe the not so good times. That's what real friendship and community means to me.
Totally. Which I just want to give you a pat on the back, because we actually met at my previous job. And I know that we've connected and had a couple conversations, and you actually reached out to me recently on Instagram. And I'm gonna call myself out, because I sometimes, I hate to say this, but remind myself of some people in my past. And I can sometimes be a little bit, I think, guarded.
Sure.
Just protected of my energy, right?
And that's a totally fair thing.
Nothing wrong with
No, I think it's great.
But you reached out to me and you were like, oh my gosh, I would love to grab a coffee with you. I'd love to catch up. My first thought at first was like,
Yeah, skepticism.
Right.
For sure.
Because we live in a world where people don't really holler at people.
I love hollering.
We've learned, and it's that thing of like, you're on the street and you're like, hey, pretty lady. Like, we've learned to be like, ew.
Yeah,
like,
right.
Not
of course. Respectful, consensual hollering.
Right. And same with DMs, right? And of course you didn't come to me like a creepy way.
No. But yes.
you definitely learn to be like, what's going on here?
Yeah. What are they trying to get from me?
Right.
Yeah.
And I feel terrible saying that, right? But in a way, it's like you do have to have, again, that sense of like critical thinking, and just to be like, I always like to base things off of energy, right?
Totally.
Like, what's the energy here?
Yeah.
And I know that sometimes I can get into these patterns of, again, being in the comfortable of just me, myself, and I.
Totally.
I can very much so be like, I'm fine, I'm good.
Yeah.
And then I recognize I'm starting to get a little unhappy, and I'm starting to feel a little depressed. And it's like, oh, I need friends in my life.
Yes.
Every time I connect with somebody, I'm like, oh, I feel so much better.
Yeah.
And so it was just really nice that you reached out to me, and as much as I was like, oh, it's early morning, like I could be sleeping in my bed right now, I was like, you know what? No, one of the things I pride myself on is if I give somebody my word, I'm gonna be there.
Same, girl.
And as much as my brain is telling me, no, go back to bed, I'm so happy that we met up, because I felt like instantly when I sat down with my coffee and I landed, I was like, this conversation feels amazing. And that's actually how this happened.
Yes.
Was through you reaching out.
Oh
and
my
it
gosh,
just
what a
felt, I was
gift.
like, I need you to be on my podcast.
Oh my God, I'm so honored. You're so thoughtful. I back to like the hollering with consensual agreement. I always say, I joke, but I like to collect people, not things. And so in every job I've had, even at the grocery store, I'm like, oh my gosh, Danny, like this guy who helped me with the balloon today. Like, I love people, and I think we all have such gifts to connect with one another authentically and to build that community. I find nothing else more joyful than connection.
Totally.
And I'm often the pursuer, if you will. And I'm so glad that there was reciprocation, of course, but I'm all about expanding my network of community, of people I genuinely care about, that emotional intimacy that I was talking about earlier, that I want to expand the web, and seeing a friend connect with another one of my friends, and maybe they partner in some way, maybe they go to lunch sometime. I mean, that is the gift of life. And like, I just have such a wealth of community within my community. I mean, obviously not financial, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
Totally.
we can all help each other. And it's not in like an East Coast, well, what can you do for me? Like, that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about genuine, authentic community where we can all lift each other up. We can all thrive. I mean, I'll give you a kudos here too, where when I first met you and you had shared with me how you got the role that you had, I was like, dang, this girl is business. Of like coming in and being like, I'm here, take me, you know, this is who I am. Like, that's how you also stand out, is going the extra mile, obviously, within your comfort zone. But I was just like wildly impressed, and I was like, wow. Knowing that you had left that role, I was like, I've got to reconnect. Like, I have to collect, if you will, because I mean, that energy was so much there, and I'm so grateful. And truly anything I can do for you, for my community, like, I'm very much the like shirt off my back, how can I help you?
Totally. And I think that more that we all take that stance and recognize, like, community is literally at our heart. Like,
of course.
Having a sense of community really, like, I'm like, what are we doing on this planet but to have community?
Amen.
You know, and just to go back, if some of you guys are like, what are you talking about? Is in the role that I previously had, and I'm gonna give kudos to my boyfriend on this, because I was in a sense of applying, and I think we were just talking about this. It's like, you're applying to these jobs yet again, you're answering these questions, you're doing the resume, you're writing the cover letter, you're adding all this time and effort and energy, and oftentimes you don't hear anything back from a job.
Crickets.
Which can be really discouraging.
Very defeating.
And can start to tear at your ego, especially when you're day after day sending out and you hear nothing. So again, as a reminder, it's not you, it's the job.
Totally.
But I got to a point where I was in that space, and my boyfriend's like, listen, your little computer, your little that's not doing anything. I need you to take some action.
Heck yeah, take that agency.
He's like, I need you to follow up. And again, when you struggle with self-esteem, you're like, well, if the job wants me, shouldn't they be chasing me? And that was something that I still struggle with, of just like, I feel like a bugaboo if I'm constantly like, hey. But again, the reality is, like, think about it. When you're in a job, there's so many things you're worrying about. Usually getting back to somebody who doesn't even work for the company yet.
Right, low priority.
Lowest on the totem pole.
Totally.
So again, you can't take it personal, but as you're following up, it's just reminding them, like, hey, again, it's me. It's the person that is qualified to do this job.
I'm a human.
And I'm telling you that I'm not just some easy apply button.
Right.
I'm a real person that is actually qualified and excited to be in this role. So following up is really important.
Absolutely. A personalized email, like a recommendation from a friend, you know, any of those things make a huge difference. And being on both sides of the interview, both the interviewee and the interviewer, that really does make a difference. You know, the people who are interviewing you are often overworked. They have a lot on their plate. Again, like you said, this is their lowest priority. Yet if you can just move that needle a little bit by saying, hey, hi, I'm here, I'm real, that makes all the difference sometimes.
Totally. And so I took it a step further where, you know, the follow-ups, emails, nothing was working, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna put on an outfit.
Yeah, you are.
I'm gonna drive this car.
Woo!
I'm gonna walk up in this place.
That's right.
And I'm also going to do my research and be like, hey, I know the business hours, or let's see when it's not peak time.
Yes.
And I'm gonna go in bright and early.
Yeah, you are.
Smile on my face with my resume in hand, with not even just some generic paper.
Heck no.
High quality.
That's what we're talking about.
To get that
yes.
paper.
What is that? Paperweight, girl.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I went in and was like, hey, look, I just want to let you know I applied last week and here's my resume. Love to chat to the manager if they're available. And literally the next day I received a call and got an interview.
That's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And you showed up as your authentic self. You were like, take the computer screen away, take an email away. I am real, I am here, and I am, just choose me,
Which is hard because I know like nowadays, it's 2025, a lot, especially if you are looking for a remote hybrid job, like you may not have that ability to do that. And so again, it's just like following up into whatever capacity you can.
Right. Well,
really makes a difference.
Absolutely. And even I will say, I love a handwritten note. So we talked about paperweight. I used to work at Paper Source. Freaking loved that job.
Such a great store.
Such a great store. I mean, I didn't make any money because it all went to paper goods, but here we are. But no, I mean, there is something to be said about an analog piece of communication. And even I was interviewing earlier this year in 2025 for a role that I really wanted at the time. And what I did afterwards is I wrote handwritten notes to every single person who was on my interview panel. Another thing that I did, and this is kind of wild, so like bear with me here, folks, is ahead of this interview, I garnered 11 letters of garnered, like gathered, like asked for. Yeah, sorry, vocab lesson. No, it's good. Yeah, garnered. I reached out to talk about community.
Yeah.
I reached out to my community, people who had managed me, people who I had worked with, and I said, hey friends, I'm interviewing for this dream role. Do you mind writing a few some words, right? And I was so touched.
Wow.
My really good friend was like, you should like frame these and do something artistic. Shout out to Sophia. I mean, it really is so special. And I got those 11 letters.
Wow.
I went for
not just 3 references, 11
letters, not even references. So I went I went to this in-person kind of panel interview, and I had packets.
Wow.
I printed out these packets of 11 letters.
Around.
No, I was not messing around. I was business. I went in, I handed them out to every person at the table. I then again had my panel interview. I left, I went down to my car. I had gotten locally made cards from Portland. I had written each of those 6 panelists those handwritten notes, and then I immediately delivered them to the office.
So actually, flip the script. I will be interviewing you guys today, so take all your shit, close your laptop.
Yes, no, that is the mentality. That is absolutely the mentality. And those letters, and I mean, I did all the things, and you've got to shoot your shot, right?
Yeah.
I've got to exactly. I have to confidently leave and said, I gave everything I could. And that is the best we can do, is show up, do our thing, do the best of our abilities, and you're out. And I will say, I did not get that role. And it's okay, because...
What do you think, as you put in so much effort,
sure,
you really were like, listen, I am your girl.
I am, for sure.
It didn't happen.
Yeah.
But now, where are you at with it?
Well, so there's this moment, I mean, I grew up doing theater, so I'm used to rejection from a young age of you didn't get the part, okay, big deal, we auditioned for the next one. For me, I'm really comfortable with that. And what I did was I said, you know what? Again, I got an incredible call from the hiring manager. So kind, so thoughtful, so personalized. Hey, we all loved you.
That's nice.
I mean, it was incredible.
Yeah.
But I didn't let that,
discourage you.
No, because you never lose in life. You never lose in life. You either win or you learn. And so for me, I take that as a lesson as, wow, I have now 11 letters of love from my treasured community. That right there validated me in a way that felt so real and authentic. And again, those people took their time to write those letters. I mean, what a gift,
Totally. That you can always
treasure.
Yeah.
Exactly. If ever you're down, you have those moments. And I'm so glad who they hired. They're incredible. I mean, I couldn't even compete with the people that they did hire for these 2 roles. And so kudos to them. But also, again, I walked away feeling super proud and loved.
Totally.
That's all I can ask for.
And also how you were saying about learning, which made me think about oftentimes when we're in a job where I felt this before, where you're just this is a waste of time and I'm not learning anything new and I hate it here and it's just the same crap every day. And again, I welcome you to take that pause and really reflect, what are the skill sets you're learning and using? And that is going to help you in building your resume, right? Because it's something as simple of cool, I'm a front desk agent.
Sure.
You know, I say hi to everybody. But think about really when you transfer that over to the resume of, you know, I'm communicating with clientele of high value, you know, like they're the VP of Nike, and I'm remembering their name and their birthday, and like those things can really, as much as you think like, oh, this is just like a kiddie job, it's
never.
You can reword that into something that it is valuable and that can be transcribed on your resume to then go on to your next job. And I've always thought too, like, without this job I wouldn't have gotten this job, and without this job, so it, as much as it is really shitty at times, and really when you take a look out of it, you're like, oh, you know, I needed that job to get to here, and it all makes sense.
Well, we're going back to theater. There are no small parts, only small actors. So whether you're tree number 2 in this big production, you still matter. You know, I used to do theater and like people would count their lines. Like this was when I was really young, of like, well, I have 37 and I have 2, you know, and then people with 2 would be like, no, but those 2 lines could mean the world to that production. And I always say, if I'm learning something personally, professionally, that's where that joy is. And honestly, meeting a lot of people. I mean, I love, again, connecting with people. So you're gaining, you know, you're gaining skills. Like you said, it's all about framing too. I didn't just greet people when they walked in. I knew their name. I knew their kid's name. I knew that it was their kid's birthday last week. Like, those are transferable skills that go beyond just front desk agent.
Totally.
So.
Yeah, and I think that's something with hospitality I've really struggled with like, oh man, like, you know, my resume is really just shows that I'm great at restaurants. And then you zoom out of it and you're like, think about all of the multitasking and the fast-paced environment and shifting gears. So 1 minute you're baristaing, and then the next day you're mediating a dispute, and then the next day you're helping somebody with mental health. You know, it's like there's so many skills in just being a people person.
Absolutely.
And I think, again, it's like in boosting yourself up and recognizing that you're not just a server.
No.
You're not just a dishwasher.
No.
You know, you're not just a bartender. It's like you have real world skills. You have to believe in yourself and then rewrite your story.
Absolutely.
And build a resume. That's something I've been learning recently of, like, when applying for jobs, it's like looking at those keywords, putting those keywords in your resume, like really thinking like, sure, I may not have the exact 10 years of skill that you want in this specific business degree, but I've operated a business. So isn't that more? So it not even more, but like that is transferable. And so again, it's just about having the confidence and selling yourself in a way that's like, hey, I'm the best person for the job, and here's why.
Very well said. Very well said. It's really too, like, you can teach skills, right? Like, oh, I need to learn how to do XYZ or operate XYZ system. What you can't teach is genuine passion. You cannot teach authenticity. You cannot teach these like intangible soft skills that, for me, in my opinion, again, I'm not always hiring people, but in my opinion, speak much louder than, can you operate Microsoft Word? I mean, I would hope most people can, but you know, there are those skills that can be taught, but there are also those intangible skills that you just have to own.
Totally. I love it. Woo!
Deep stuff.
This is amazing. I think I want to wrap it up soon.
Great.
And I just want to ask the question of, where are you now in life?
Oh, great question. Great question. I love it. Well, there's a lot of fun things happening, personally, professionally, all the greatness. And I'm very much like glass half full person. So even if I'm like, oh, this is really hard, it's like 1 degree a different direction and your life changes, you know?
Very true.
You know, taking that quote unquote risk and trying something new, you know, I mean, that's where the magic happens. But for right now, I start an incredible new job on Monday. Woo, 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 woo.
like 4 days?
I start, well, it's a full-time job,
Wow.
and it's fully remote, and
Okay.
I am working for an amazing nonprofit called GOBI.
Okay.
It's Greater Oregon Behavioral Health Inc., and they help people who are navigating mental health resources,
Wow.
foster care, all within rural cities within the state of Oregon, Washington, a little bit of Idaho. I feel so grateful. I'm fully remote, and I can still flourish by building out Fern LLC, building out Fern Date, which is all about helping people navigate online dating, marketing themselves, putting their best foot forward for online dating. Then Fern Biz, helping people navigate the resumes, the cover letters, the rejection emails, all those good things. And then most recently, I'm developing a speed dating component. So
fun.
bringing people together in the wild, IRL, taking them out from behind the screen. I'm so grateful and so excited. And once again, back to community. You're really being able to pull on friends. Oh, you're going to be my developer. You're going to be my logo designer. Like all these different things. It all goes back to that community and building that authentic base.
I love that you said that. It's like you have an idea, and so often do you think like, well, I'm not good enough, or I don't know how to do this, which I want to leave you guys with a story. I've talked about it before. A brand, Oat House. I'm gonna have you try after.
Ooh.
It's a non-nut butter nut butter.
I'm so curious.
Their base is oats.
Fascinating.
And Mindy, who was our second guest, who was on episode 15, shout out to Mindy, she introduced me to this brand. And
wow.
I've low-key have been obsessed now.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait.
And what I loved about the story is the girl, the founder, her name is Allie. This was like, and I'm gonna say, I may not say exactly, but from what I remember,
sure.
She was in the pandemic, as we all were, and she had this idea of like, I want to create this nut butter, and she knew the vision, but she was like, listen, I'm not a chef.
Sure.
You know, I'm not a master at the kitchen, but I have this idea. So she flew out, I think to France.
Oh my gosh, bless.
To meet a chef who she thought and knew could execute this idea.
Wow.
And they basically have been like working on this formula. And now they're like in Target. They're Amazon. They're crushing it right now.
Love it.
And I just love that story because it just reminds me of like, you know, even with this podcast, there's been many times where I'm like, I don't know all this audio wire. This is an XLR cable.
No idea.
But it's just like in asking your community, like my partner's great at tech. His friends are all DJs. Like they let us borrow their gear and they'll help, you know, with the sound. Like there's just been, it's funny how it's like you start an idea and you think it's so kind of overwhelming in a sense. And then as you begin, you realize you're like, there's so many people that this is perfectly aligning with that could actually support me that I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to be doing
yes,
this.
you are. Oh my gosh. I love that story, and I really resonate with that of like, oh gosh, I don't know, but also look at this beautiful community around me that like maybe I don't know the tech, but someone else does. Maybe I can't do the logo, but someone else does. And that like ecosystem of being able to help and nurture each other and lift each other up is
priceless.
Priceless.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, my friends, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I hope you took some notes on it. I hope whether you're single or married or divorced or whatever you are, thriving in a career, hating your career, I hope you got something out of this because I know I did.
Me too.
And big shout out to you, Mackenzie.
Big shout out right back.
Thank you for joining us. Again, this was the You and Me podcast. Peace.
Peace out. Oh my gosh, so fun, friend.
Did I pause? Did it work?
Who knows?